Welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and last year I dyed my hair blue, and now I kind of miss it. This chat is with Nico Colaleo, a very well-known animation editor who has worked on such shows as Star vs. the Forces of Evil, Randy Cunningham, 9th Grade Ninja, and Pig, Goat, Banana, Cricket. You may also know him as the creator and director of Too Loud, and more recently, Ollie and Scoops. And on top of this, he also runs CTN's Cartoon Crash Course, which brings in guests who teach on topics like writing for animation, voice acting, and character design. Now, in our chat, we're going to deep dive into how to become an editor for animation, as well as how Nico brought his viral YouTube show Ollie and Scoops to life, including how he assembled the team, what it takes to put each episode together, and even how much it costs per episode, a question I have long asked and finally got the answer to. So if you've been wondering how to start a TV show from scratch on your own, Nico is going to share exactly where to start. And now, without further ado, let's jump right in. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm excited to chat. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been meaning to talk to you for a while. You're pretty busy during the quarantine. You've got a lot of projects going on. Can you tell me kind of what's on your slate currently or upcoming?
Yeah. Well, first of all, sorry for taking this long to get to
Oh my gosh, don't even apologize, please.
This is like the third time we've had to schedule this. Well, I'm working currently at Netflix Animation. I'm wrapping up on Kid Cosmic, which is Craig McCracken's next project. And then also working on Ollie and Scoops, my animated series. We try to have an episode come out every few months at the latest. Ultimately, try to get one out every other month, or sometimes even every month. But it just depends on how long the episode is. The next episode is our longest, so of course it's going to take the longest.
Like how many minutes are you talking longest? Like 20 minutes?
Yep. Yeah. 20 minutes exactly.
Right.
Or 18 to 20 minutes. And so hopefully it won't be out any longer than like April or May. Hopefully no longer than that.
Awesome. I mean, I specifically wanted to talk about Ollie and Scoops with you because I think what you're doing is so interesting to me and other people. And you're amassing a huge cult following, I guess. You've got nearly 2 million views on YouTube. But I also want to talk about your career as an editor for animation and how you got into that. So maybe before we dive into those topics, can you where did this all start off for you? What made you realize that you could make it in the animation industry?
Sure. I never went to school for animation. I went for film and live action. I took film classes, screenwriting, lighting, field audio, stuff like that. And we took, cinematography. And my friends and I, and my brother friends and I had a public access show where we grew up in Tucson, Arizona. So it was like a sketch comedy show, and it just involved lots and lots of just short videos and just making lots of short things. So it turned out to just be a really great source of experience for me, making all kinds of different genres and like kind of like a little crash course in different short films and stuff like that. So that's basically where I learned editing and timing and I don't know, I wrote on them, so I wrote a lot. I acted in them, so I acted. And it's kind of where we got our feet wet. By the time I moved to Los Angeles in 2008, I was ready to, I was done with high school, done with college, and I was ready to do something like that for professional work. And I think I just happened to know more people in animation, so I landed in animation. I always loved cartoons and I loved animation, and I always drew on the side and made up my own, characters and cartoons and stuff on the side, but I never thought that I would be good enough to work in animation. And then it turns out that when it comes to editing, either editing for animation or editing for live action, it's the same programs. So when I learned to edit my short films, I was also learning how to edit in the same programs that Disney and Nickelodeon and all the animation studios work in.
So
So
well,
when
just a second.
so I
I
got
want
hired as
to
an animatic editor.
jump in.
Yeah.
So, first of all, I think it's really cool that you did so many shorts, and you studied at the same time. Do you think you learned more from just creating so many shorts, versus
Exactly.
like studying cinematography and whatnot?
I think so. I think that you can read up and, be lectured at and study all you want, but the best experience is just to put yourself out there and just make stuff. And I think that's what, I of course had college classes and stuff where there were lectures, and had, I had books that I had to read up and about cinematography and the history of film and all that. And that's all great.
Yeah.
But also just forcing myself to make short films and do content for our public access show is what gave me so much experience in just making stuff.
Totally. I almost feel like sometimes I over bombard myself with kind of learning tech, like book studying versus like actually doing. And it's like I get caught in this endless loop of learning forever and then being afraid to even start to
Yeah.
like attempt something versus like at least in my experience, like with stop motion, I made like 60 short stop motions in a row, and that taught me more than I could ever learn from a book. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering about this. The second question I had kind of was about your role as an editor. So how did you go to like an interview? You said you fell into editing because you knew people in animation. If you had no experience in animation before, all your I guess your reel and the demos that you could show were just in live action and say like, look, I know these editing programs. You can trust me with animation, timing, and storytelling as well.
Well, it was starting off at kind of a smaller studio. So my first job was at Tit Mouse,
Hmm.
which does a lot of the Adult Swim shows. You know, I always called Tit Mouse the SNL of animation. It's a great place to get your feet wet and like get started. It's a fantastic place to get started. And if you keep working there, that's great. But also, it's a smaller studio, and I think that what the rawness that the studio had just really kind of got me ready for the bigger studios. And I think it was just a good place to start off than say just starting right ahead at a giant Disney, you
Right.
know. Um, but I got my first Titmouse job just by it was just by going to a friend's birthday party, and a friend who was in animation, and a Titmouse producer was there, and we met each other and just kind of hit it off. And by the end of the night, I mentioned, I was an editor, and gave her my card after a night of just hanging out and uh, getting to know each other. And about a month and a half later, just out of nowhere, she remembered me, and she emailed me, and she said, "Hey, I'm on a show here at Titmouse that needs an editor, and would you come in?" Initially, it was just for a couple days of freelance because they weren't because I was so green and I didn't know I hadn't done it professionally yet. So originally, it was just a couple days of freelance, and when I came in just to do some pretty you know normal. It was like picking out circle takes for one of the first episodes of the show that I would eventually go on to. But I guess the show creators liked me in those couple days, and they just said, "Do you want the editing gig?" So that's where the door opened for me, and I was on that was Ninth Grade Ninja. That was the first show I was on.
And that is so random. It's like, happy birthday, friend. And then a month later, the course of
Yeah,
your life has changed.
everyone's path is different.
Were you, okay, so obviously you had a card in your wallet ready. Were you actively trying to pick up editing gigs? And, you started talking to this producer, and then one thing led to another, and you're kind of like trying to promote yourself, or was this kind of just a random coincidence?
A little of both. Yes, I was definitely trying to. Whenever I went places, even a friend's birthday party, I just always had cards on me because when I first moved out here, the name of the game was looking for industry work. And I mean, at first, I had uh, the first 2 years I was in Los Angeles, it was just restaurant jobs. I worked retail, all these, normal jobs. And then, so everywhere I went, it was sort of like, oh, if there happens to be people in the industry, I'll, try to put myself out there and meet as many people as I can.
And I mean, I'm a Canadian, never been to LA, but it sounds like every person working in like a restaurant is like trying to make it in acting or video or animation or something.
Yeah, a lot of people are, and there's just so many restaurants. So being a server is it's kind of a ready job.
Oh man, if I was a producer, I'd probably avoid avoid restaurants. Unless I needed somebody for freelance, then I wouldn't put out a casting call. I'd just go and get some dinner.
Yeah.
So tell me about editing. So, this has been your career for the past since that one gig. Give me some highlights and how do you like it? Do you ever think about going back to your old live action days?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about not getting out of animation, but I've always thought like, oh, like if I were to ever, leave animation and go into live action, how would I do it? And I think my life is now just so planted in animation that I kind of have no idea how I would get into live action. I would just have to. It might be like starting back at the beginning again, because it's a whole different group of people and a big network of people that I just don't know yet. So I think, I don't know. I feel like I got a little lucky in that doing editing for my short videos and stuff. The fact that editing is just the same for animation and live action, I got kind of, I don't know. It was very fortunate
Yeah.
that it's the same editing programs for both fields.
Well,
But
who knows? Maybe a month later at a different friend's birthday, you would have met a live action producer.
sure,
Like,
yeah,
who
you never
knows?
know. You
Right.
never know.
But I definitely feel you. Like I made a big career jump from business and animation. That's kind of why I started this podcast, to really learn about the industry and meet people like yourself. And it very much feels like starting from scratch. Like I almost felt like I was like an infant all over again, learning a totally different industry with new people and trying to make like, you know, build up trust of who I am and my skills and everything. So I definitely feel you. But I think it's interesting that you said that editing for animation and live action are much the same. Like, would you want to get it like into TV or film? Like,
Well, I mean, I am in TV now. I'm
right.
in animation for TV. Uh, I think I would. It's been gosh, I'm almost up on 10 years of being in animation, and I mean, honestly, I love it, and I don't think I would just drop it and like say, oh, I think I'll go to live action now.
Yeah.
If a live action project were to come along, sure, but I'm completely happy with where I am too.
And you have a full slate. It doesn't sound
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
can
I've
you
got a
imagine trying
full
to make time to get into live action while still keeping up
yeah.
with animation? Yeah. I mean, that waiting, what you just said, if a live action project came along, I always thought that about animation for myself when I was in business, but that never came.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like there are lucky people that happens to, but I don't know, maybe you have to, if you want to do live action, you have to put yourself out there and change things up. But let's talk about editing. Like I haven't actually talked to an editor for animation on this podcast yet. And so from my perspective, like in school and everybody I've talked to, there's the process of the directors and the producers work together with the writers, then it goes to the storyboard team, then it goes to, layout and animation, and then visual effects, and then it all gets composited. Editing happens at the end, I'm assuming. Like I have an assumption of what an editor does, but maybe you can just walk me through it.
Yeah, editing happens at two different points. The editing that I do is for animatics, and that goes right in between storyboards and animation.
Ah,
So when the storyboards are done, all the panels get sent to the animatic editor, and what I do is I build the episode of whatever show I'm working on. I'm pretty much building the skeleton of the episode of the show. it's taking all the voice actor records and timing out the show with the storyboard panels. And then once the overall radio play storyboard panels are built out, I'll do temp sound effects and music. And
Oh,
it's
wow.
pretty much building the show and how it flows and how it feels. And
So,
then,
so not only are you doing cinematography, but you're doing timing, like narrative timing as well, and
yes,
joke timing, and you have to do all the audio sync and like sound effects.
yeah, sometimes it's a couple different jobs.
Oh man, that would keep me busy. Oh my gosh. Okay. So how much one of my questions I was going to ask you is how much control do you have over the narrative story and the timing and jokes, but it sounds like a lot, I guess.
Yeah, I've worked on shows where I'll time out the episode, give it to the directors, and the directors have no notes, so all the timing is me.
Wow.
Um, Other times I'll time things out, and then if it's just a much more hands-on director or creator, and they really have a very specific vision that they want, they'll get back to me and they'll get back with very specific notes, like I don't know, in this scene make it 4 frames shorter, in this scene make it add 1 second, we want a longer pause, stuff like that.
How does it feel when a director says no notes? Do you, like my instinct is like, is it good enough? Like what? No
Yeah,
notes?
yeah. When there's no notes, sometimes it'll happen, and
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's ever been like 0 notes, because that's their job, is to give notes and to make it as good as it could possibly be. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what kind of, so like I love telling stories, for instance, and kind of the job marketed to people who love telling stories in animation is to become a storyboard artist. But it kind of sounds like there could also, if you love telling stories, an editor for an animatic, because I'm assuming every show has an animatic, could also be an option. Can you kind of tell me the person that thrives in your role? Obviously, it's you, but like what skills or like mentality do you have that really this role like energizes you?
I think what this role, what I brought to this role, and what I uh sorry, my cat's making noise.
Fine.
I hope it's not being picked up.
It's fine. It's cute. It's
Okay.
a little bit.
Yeah.
It's okay.
I'm sure you can edit stuff out too.
I'm not going to.
Oh, okay.
I can send this to you and you can edit it because you're the editor in this conversation. But I try to do minimal editing for these.
Yeah.
Because I do it every week. So
He's just making noise. I'm like, oh, I hope it doesn't play over my talking. Oh, it's fine.
that's fine. I'll never forget the one episode where I was talking with Amber Paget, and she was outside, and somebody was trimming their hedges with a chainsaw beside her. So
was there
that's
a buzzing
that's
in
the
the
worst
background the
one.
whole time?
So this is nothing.
So I think yeah, getting back to it, I think a lifetime of like watching cartoons and just I think that's what developed my sense of timing. And that's kind of what I brought to the jobs that I worked on. And that not just anybody can be an editor. You have to have a good sense of timing, and it's like, well, what does that mean?
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of an anomaly. Like, I can't really explain it, but I know that just seriously, like a lifetime of just watching cartoons and movies just kind of honed my timing skills, I guess, because I don't know, because if something has bad timing or whatever, I'll if I'm watching it that way in the edit, my impulse is to fix it.
Right.
So
It's like a feeling that you have.
yeah,
like
it's like
something
a
is
feeling
off.
like, oh, that doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And I think that most people, even if people who aren't editors, if something has bad editing, you can probably tell. So yeah, or something might feel too long, and it's like, oh, this could be cut out, or oh, it doesn't need this. I think, yeah, if we got rid of this, it would play the exact same. It wouldn't matter if we cut this part out, or you know what, this really needs something extra. We're missing this. I think you need to cut to a close-up of this and so the audience, it's clear to the audience what you're trying to pull off in this scene.
So you will actually go back to maybe the storyboarding team and be like, I need an extra scene here. Can you draw this for me?
That's what the directors and I will do. Yeah, the
Oh.
directors will kind of relay it for me. But if we're watching something, and that's where storyboard revisionists come in, is that once the directors are watching my build of my edit of the show, if something is needed, if something is not drawn particularly correct, or if we need something added, that's when they make a little list of notes for the storyboard revisionist to do.
So I want to talk about Ollie Scoops, but I'm still curious about this.
Sure.
So do you actually draw anything yourself?
For Ollie Scoops, I do. It's kind of like Matt Groening with The Simpsons. I'll do like an initial design of the character first off, and then I'll give it to my character designer Natasha, and she'll make it like 100 times better.
But in your editing role, like
and editing for like other people's stuff, no, there's no. I don't do any drawing when it comes to
so what I'm hearing is, because there's this I don't know how to put it, but there's like this thing that everybody says you need to be an amazing artist, an amazing animator to make it in the animation industry, whether it's storyboarding or whatever. But I guess what I'm hearing is you don't need to have any animation training. Like you don't need to go to animation school to make it as an editor and still work on TV shows and the timing and the narrative story. And I'm also assuming you didn't have like professional writing experience,
other than just lots of experience writing my own stuff.
Right.
And I've just working on other people's shows over the years has helped me become a better storyteller. Working on other people's shows and just seeing just being a bystander and just seeing stories get evolve and get stuff added to them from draft 1 of the animatic until the shipping animatic, which is 3 or 4 versions later, where the story's kind of all figured out and lines of dialogue are changed or made clearer.
Gotcha. Do you see people coming into editing roles like nowadays who have come from like animation schools, or is it people from kind of like your background, like film or I don't know, other, like how are people entering the editing world these days?
I've for a lot of the editors that I've worked with, a lot of them are coming from film backgrounds.
That makes sense.
A lot of quite a few people already worked in film, and then they transitioned over to animation. Maybe because there wasn't a lot of work at the time that they couldn't find, and then they just had animation friends that hooked them up with like a cartoon gig. But I think at least the editors that I've worked with, a lot came from live action also, like I did.
Nice. I guess I have one last question about the professional editors.
Sure.
How many editors are there per show? It sounds like just one. So is it more of like a very niche role?
There's usually, it depends on the size of the show, but there's usually at least 2 editors, and sometimes 3, and then sometimes there will be an assistant editor who does like exporting and a lot of the technical stuff that just takes a long time.
Yeah.
That we could be building and editing and doing sound effects and stuff, and their job is to scene number and export and stuff like that.
So does that mean it's, I guess, more difficult to get into because it's more niche, or does it, I don't know, kind of the same to get into anything else because it is niche and not many people are like, for animators, for instance, like in school right now, everybody wants to be an animator. I don't know a single person who wants to be an editor, for instance. Right.
I've it's pretty cool. I've talked to classes and students and stuff, and I actually have met a few, there's been quite a few people I've met that are like, I really want to edit. That sounds like fun. So thankfully, not everybody wants to. And there's tons of people who want to be a storyboard artist or designer, but I think it's a little more it's a little more balanced than that. But
cool. So
what?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to add. I've also I've met a lot of editors that also come from a what do you call it, like a sitcom, and a lot of writers too that come from a sitcom background. I don't know what that I don't know what it says about animation, but a lot of the times writers will come in and it's like, hey, that's they're from have they ever worked in cartoons before? And it's like, or what cartoons have they worked on? It's like, oh, actually none. They're from a sitcom background that in live action, this is their first cartoon. It's like, oh, interesting. But I kind of like that it's like there's sort of new people coming in all the time.
Yeah. Well, maybe, people are coming from sitcoms. Maybe there's an opportunity that down the road for you to go to a sitcom. Who
Exactly.
knows?
Yeah, maybe.
So, okay, sorry, one last question that
Sure.
just from what you said is, are you hired on as an editor for a specific show, or do you work for a studio and then just edit whatever shows they're making? Is it like...
Both has happened to me. I've worked at studios where, well, I'm currently at Netflix, and even though I'm wrapping up on Kid Cosmic, they have another project for me to roll on to.
Gotcha.
So thankfully, there's that. Other times in my career, I've worked at places where as soon as the show is done, they're like, well, thanks for working here. We don't have anything else right now. And I have to move on, whether I want to or not. So yeah, both has happened to me.
Nice. Well, thank you for asking all of my technical,
of course,
professional questions. But I'm really excited to talk about Ollie Scoops because
sure.
You, I think, are the only example that I can think of in my mind. I mean, as soon as I saw Ollie Scoops, I had to reach out to you because I don't know of anybody else who's producing episodes to the extent that you are to have like a full animated show. I mean, I can think of other people who have like their own little kind of indie projects that are shorter in length, but you just said you're making a 20-minute episode and there's a whole team. So I want to talk about Ollie and Scoops. Like, first of all, just for those who haven't seen it, can you give me kind of like a brief synopsis of what it's about and who's it for, and if the cat is your own cat?
Sure. Ollie and Scoops is initially I created the characters just for pitching to animation studios. All the studios at the time seemed to want kid protagonists with a goofy best friend, or a best friend that was not dumb, but they wanted like a SpongeBob and a Patrick.
Right.
Two best friends. One's the more grounded one. One's the sillier one. And if it's a human, it has to be a kid. That's just how kid animation works. So I was like, okay, what are the two things that I like best about cartoons? Cute girls and funny animals. So I was like, okay, 9-year-old girl and her pet cat. And then I just needed to think of what's the hook, because every show needs a hook. And then I thought, what if the little girl's the only person in the entire world that can talk to cats and communicate with them? And I was like, oh, so therefore she gets to see a whole bunch of society and adventures that cats have that humans don't know about. Therefore, she gets to go to an underground cat society that cats have that humans don't know about. And it kind of just grew and grew and grew into like this lore that she gets to see this whole side of cats that people don't know about. So that's pretty much the premise. Ollie is the girl, Scoops is the cat, and they're best friends, and they can understand and communicate with each other. And to everyone else, cats just meow like normal, but Ollie can hear them and understand them and know what they're saying, and vice versa.
So tell me what happened with this. So like, you're an editor for kids shows at the time. You're literally creating what goes on TV. So you have like a firsthand knowledge of what an episode is like. You have
Mhm.
firsthand knowledge of what studios are wanting. You create this pitch. The hook sounds amazing. These, you've got cute characters. What happens?
I was working at Nickelodeon at the time, and I pitched to Nick. And when you're working at a studio, you just have a better advantage of pitching than
Yeah.
someone just who doesn't work there and is just coming right in off the street. They really liked my pitch, and they said at the time they said they had no notes. They really liked it. And what didn't move it forward was just it was just the competition. There was just too many things in development all at once. And they said, come back with this, in a couple of years from now, and we might have a different story for you. But as of right now, we just don't have room for it.
Man,
But we do
that's
like
wonderful.
it. So I pitched it to Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. Both said the same thing. Cartoon Network also said they're more of a boys channel, so they're kind of still finicky about a girl protagonist. And then I pitched also to Netflix, and at the time they said, we really like this. We unfortunately already have a show in development about a little girl and her pet, which turned out to be Hilda, but it's okay.
Totally different.
I was like, why can't you have two shows about girls? But
Right.
whatever, it's fine. So after a few years of pitching it and it kind of not going anywhere, I was sort of like, I was in the market for working on something new because my previous show, Too Loud for DreamWorks TV, it had just ended, and that took a couple years of working on. As soon as that ended, I was like, well, I need something to work on, otherwise I'll go crazy. So, you know what? Like, I've been working for a lot of years now. I have a lot saved up. I have a crew because of my DreamWorks TV show. I already have the artists, and we work together, and I know who worked out and who didn't, and each person is good at their own at each step of the animation process. So if I have the crew and I have the money, let's just make this. Like, why do I don't even need a studio. So it was just a lot of sick of waiting for studios, and I just figured, let's just make it. So we did. And the initial idea was to make 3 episodes and shop them around. And then once we got past 3 episodes, I was like, this is too much fun. I don't want to stop here. So we just kept making episodes. And I don't know, right now the sky's the limit, I feel. And just, if I can keep making them, then keep making them. Why not?
That's awesome. So, I mean, your experience on Too Loud, which is, I guess we glossed over your professional experience.
Yeah, that's definitely an important stepping stone.
Yeah.
For Ollie and Scoops.
So how is, I guess, Ollie and Scoops, you have complete creative and, well, maybe not financial freedom, it's your own finances. But
yeah.
Is there like a huge difference from working on Too Loud as the kind of the creator versus Ollie and Scoops as the creator?
Yeah, the only real difference was that Too Loud had a producer that we had to run everything by and get, we had to be open to accepting notes and stuff like that from her. But Ollie and Scoops, yeah, I'm the producer. So, as soon as I say this is good, execute it,
done,
and we do it.
Was the pitch,
that's the main difference.
Was the pitching process for Too Loud similar to what you described for Ollie and Scoops, where you created something you thought was studios were looking for, and then shopped it around?
Yep. Yeah. I came up with Too Loud specifically for DreamWorks TV because they approached me asking me to pitch for their YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. How does that happen?
Yeah. I was just my friend.
This is DreamWorks.
Yeah, my friend's wife worked at it was Awesomeness TV. That was the branch of the DreamWorks YouTube channel. Now I believe it's Peacock TV, Peacock Kids. It's changed over the last couple of years since Too Loud ended. Thankfully, Too Loud is still up there, but their whole channel changed now, and it's not even about animation anymore. So I did Too Loud at the perfect time, because if we waited 1 year or 2 years, they wouldn't have wanted it, probably.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, but my friend's wife was a producer at Awesomeness TV, so uh, that's why she reached out to me, because she reached out to me and a few of our mutual friends, just wanting to see what small and simple was the key, because these are for the DreamWorks YouTube channel. They're 5 minutes. They're for kids, so like super simple. So I came up with three really simple kid ideas. My third one was too loud. It's a brother and a sister, a teenage brother and sister, and they work at the library, but they have they're the two people in the world with the two biggest heads and
Yeah.
mouths and faces, and they're super loud, and they work in a library. Haha, but that's a good kid show idea. That's
Right.
super simple, right? They liked. I pitched three ideas. Too loud was the third one, and they liked Too Loud, so they bought it.
I like how
It, um,
straightforward your pitching ideas are. Like, you know, I have like I'm pitching around right now myself, and I also have some ideas in the back of my head where it's like this super complex world with a whole like fantasy lore, and the characters there's a
yeah.
billion of them, and they're all and it's like, what is this show?
Well, no, that's good
It's
to
Lord of the
have
Rings,
lore and everything.
basically.
I say start off simple. Start off with just, your two characters and a simple hook,
Yeah.
and just say, what's a one sentence synopsis that can describe the show. Once you have the show and you're making it, then you can get into the lore and stuff, because even though Too Loud starts off simple, there is lore to it, and there are
Yeah.
characters that, a character will show up in season one, and then they'll come back in season two, and they've changed, or like whatever Jeffrey and Sarah did, altered the course of the story or the character. So, I had tons of ideas for more, but we only got to do 2 seasons.
Yeah. It's almost like what we were saying before, where it's like you can get locked in studying versus doing. And I feel like that's true with creating
Sure.
a show. You get locked in the lore
Yeah.
before it's even a thing. And the way you described Too Loud and Ollie Scoops in like one sentence, it's super clear to me what it's about. And it's just, I feel like a good pitch is that, and lets whoever you're pitching to just imagine episodes on their own. Like if the person receiving the pitch can't envision an episode or the conflict or whatever, then I feel like it's not a it's not a good idea.
Sure. Just, yeah, when you're pitching, the idea is to make it as clear as possible.
Yeah.
Get into all the lore stuff later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can all still be there. There's totally room for it, but just think. I don't want to say think small, but think simple when you're starting off.
And that's at least for me, that's been really hard. Like I've been pitching the Silly Duck Wizard, and like to make it so clear what it's about is tough, because somebody will be like, oh, but what about this thing? And then it just spans into complexity.
Sure, sure.
So
Well,
that
the
took
more questions you ask about Ollie and Scoops, the more
yeah.
complicated it gets. Like,
So
wait,
okay.
why is she the only person in the world who can talk to cats? And like,
Right.
what kind of things does she see when she goes to the, secret cat world? And who does she meet? And what are cats like? And so that's what the lore and all the numerous episodes are for.
So with Ollie and Scoops, I mean, you've been running it on your own ever since you've been running it, I guess.
Yeah.
What is success to you? Because you have been a creator for Too Loud. You're an editor for some amazing shows, big studios, and now you have this personal side project that you've decided is going to stay that. So what is success for you? Is it to have the creative freedom? Is it to get 1 million views? Is it like, what is it?
I think I'm right where I want to be, except for I think the next step for Ollie and Scoops would ultimately be studio production,
Hmm.
just because we could make it so much bigger and so much better if we just had, studio funding. And if, just say I brought it to Netflix and pitched it and they bought it. Okay,
Right.
great. My crew and I can work, well, obviously not during a pandemic, but we can work Monday through Friday in the studio, working on this for a couple years, and we can have the episodes a lot bigger, longer, more, the story is bigger. We could get more, more voice actors in on it. Basically, just studio involvement means exactly what I'm doing right now, just bigger.
Yeah, I'm actually wondering what is preventing a studio from buying it, because you have, you have the professional level of the production. You have a team. You're the experienced creator. You have an audience already. Like, what is preventing a studio from saying let's buy this and make it bigger? Because it's already proven that it's successful from
Sure.
maybe a numbers producing standpoint.
That's a good question that I don't know the answer to, but
Like, are you
I don't
still
know.
pitching it around, or is it?
Well, I think so my plan was to keep making Ollie Scoops for now, but also since I work at Netflix, I feel like I have an advantage to pitching to them also. So I've just been waiting for the pandemic to end because I
Right.
really want to pitch to them in person, in a old fashioned, in an office in front of people. I just that's just how I roll, and I kind of don't really want to pitch over Zoom.
Fair.
So that's it's sort of just kind of a waiting game right now. I was about to pitch a year ago, and then the pandemic happened, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you think I should keep waiting or.
Well, I mean, I personally like, what is the benefit of waiting for the pandemic to be over to pitch in the room? Is it just a personal preference of pitching, or do you think you will
It's just a
have
personal
that
preference.
much? Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe what's stopping the show is you deciding to delay it then, I guess. I don't mean that
I
in a bad
guess.
way.
No, yeah, yeah. I originally who could tell that the pandemic would be a year long, a year
Oh, it's
plus.
going to be longer than that.
It's going to be longer than that too. So, I mean, originally, it was like, okay, make 3 episodes of All in
Yeah.
Scoops and shop it around. Well, when the pandemic happened, I was like, okay, well, I'll just keep making episodes. There's nothing wrong with just keep making episodes and get the subscriber and fan count higher and higher and higher, because it'll just look that much better
Mhm.
when I do pitch it. So, instead of having 3 episodes and 10,000 subscribers to show next time I pitch to someone, currently I have 7 episodes and 30,000 subscribers. So I don't know. It might be. I'm kind of trying to like weigh it out. Like, is it good to just keep making it on my own right now and just have it be even bigger and better once I pitch, or should I just not wait for the pandemic to end and just pitch it? Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I've been mulling over lately. But
I feel you. I mean,
I at the same time, I'm happy with things the way they are right now, and just making the show on my own too, and having it be kind of being my own boss. There's also a really nice freedom to that.
right. And I mean, what you just said there, you're happy making it your own. It's like, are you going to regret not pitching it at an opportunity at
Right.
Netflix next week that you miss
Yeah.
out on for the, like, I guess that's what you have to think about. But I
There's
definitely
no
feel
lose.
you.
There's no lose situation
Yeah.
here.
So it's, and like having control over what you're doing is amazing.
yeah.
You're not like trying desperately to get an episode made, and the only way is to get a producer at like Netflix to join you, I guess, what you're
Right.
saying. But
There will be Ollie and Scoops, whether
yeah,
I successfully pitch or not.
right. And then what success is for you is already kind of happening. And I feel you
Yeah.
with the pitching thing. Like, I started pitching Silly Duck Wizard right before the pandemic, so I was going into studios, and then the pandemic hit and everybody wanted to do it online. And honestly, my experiences online has been so much easier, because
Sure.
like I don't have to travel anywhere. I don't have to wait
Yeah.
in a waiting room. I don't have to
Yeah.
like worry if I'm sweating, or like
Yeah.
if technology works, or like sometimes the producer is going to be there, and the co-producer is in another meeting. But on Zoom, it's like everybody's there on time, and it's like straight to the point.
Yeah. I
And
hear you.
yeah, and I feel you about those views too. Like, what is really going to matter, 10,000 or 30,000? Like, I almost think, once you've gotten 10,000, that's extremely difficult on YouTube already. That's proof enough. But
Yeah.
more is better, I guess. But I don't know. I just keep making it, because it's going awesome. And
Thanks.
if
Yeah.
it's who knows? It might get picked up. Somebody might knock on your door and say, "We want this," and
Sure.
whatever. It's still getting made, right?
I think as long as it's just continuing to get made, everything's fine.
Yeah. I really like that because, coming from the business world myself, it's so easy to get caught up in the numbers and business of things and forget about why you're doing what you're doing. And that's, facing that made me switch careers. And it's interesting to have that perspective already and to, steep myself in animation now and see how it can so just easily turn into the business of things all over
Yeah.
again.
And for me, sorry, real quick, for
Yeah.
me, I think also working on other people's stuff is still something that I want part of my life. I'm finishing up on Kid Cosmic for Craig McCracken. I'm about to go on to Storybots for Netflix, which is, a really amazing
Yeah.
preschool empire. I've just gotten to meet and been working with the Storybot creators who are soulmates with me. Like we really, really hit it off, and we're just like, they want to just make stuff with me outside of Netflix and
Are you talking about the Jib Jab guys?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We just really hit it off, and I'm going to be their editor for the next incarnation of Storybots. But without my point is without working on other people, with keeping the working on other people's stuff my day job, I wouldn't have been able to meet them and go on to, or I wouldn't have been able to work on Craig McCracken's show. So it's like, I feel like that's still a part of my career that I want to be around, is also working on other people's stuff for my day job, because it just exposes me to a lot of great people, and be a part of a lot more families, and for like the Storybot families and the Craig McCracken family. And I just, it gives me a chance to work with as many people and meet as many people as possible.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
I think that's important too.
That's also like, obviously I'm still in school, but that's also something I really look forward to, because in my past career, just by being in a company by default, you're exposed to all these great people and projects and opportunities that, you might not ever get opportunity to otherwise. And also, I'm really excited for you to work on the Storybots. I didn't know they were coming back with a new season. That's
I don't
so
think
awesome.
I can say
I
too
heard
much,
great things. I chatted with one of the stop motion animators on the first season of the show, so he had a lot of good things to say. If you don't mind me asking, I am really curious about the producing / financial information of producing your own show. Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
So what is it? So you're making a 20-minute episode right now. What is that? And you said, I hope it takes 2 months and you have a small team. I want to know how many people are involved in a team. How much does it actually cost you to produce that episode? Like, how in reach is this for the average person who wants to produce something amazing like you are?
It doesn't really matter on the exact length of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Each episode is about the same what do you call it,
Budget? About
the same budget, exactly. It doesn't really matter if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or plus. We have, let's see, 2 background designers. I'm the editor and the writer and all that. So we don't even really have to worry about me, because I do like 5 or 6 or 7 different jobs.
I'm assuming you don't pay yourself.
And I don't pay myself, correct? Yeah, I am not. To anyone wondering, I am not making a living on Ollie and Scoops.
Right.
I'm doing it solely for the love of it, and to make stuff and to get stuff out there.
Gotcha.
My team consists of 2 background designers. Natasha's my character designer. I'm the initial character designer, but she draws, basically what I draw and makes it 100 times better. We have, it depends on the episode, but it ranges from 7 animators to like 10 or 11.
Oh, wow.
And then each episode has 2 storyboard artists. Sometimes I will need 1 revisionist, depending on if the board artist can't do or doesn't have time to do revisions or my notes or whatever. and then the voice actors. I think that's it. So
So at least 20 people.
at least 20 people. There's usually at least 6 to 10 characters per episode, so that's 6 to 10 voice actors. And then people ask me, how do you get people like Kevin Conroy, like Batman, or like how do you get people like Dana Snyder or Mara Wilson or Eric Bauza or Kimmy Robertson, all these seasoned actors to be in your show? And I was friends with Eric Bauza, who Scoops, but I was friends with him since 2004 when he was like an inker and a cleanup artist at 6 Point Harness, and now in 2021 he's Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck. He's like the voices of Bugs and Daffy and Tweety. So it's just like incredible. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then other people, I just ask them. I think having the show just get successful, and if I was making Ollie Scoops and I had 2 subscribers and no crew, and it was just me and the cartoons looked like crap,
Totally.
maybe the voice actors wouldn't say yes. But I think, once I reach out to someone I don't know and I'm like, hey, what I'm doing here is, this is Ollie Scoops and blah, 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 blah. And I just tell them about it. And once they see it, they're like, I think to them, they're like, okay, this is a legit operation, and luckily I've only had one no, and I've only had one voice actor say no. I was gonna say I don't know if I should mention who, but I'm gonna mention who. It was Weird Al. It's fine. I'm not upset or anything.
Wait, how did you even get in touch with Weird Al?
I just got in touch with his people. I didn't talk to him.
How do you even get in touch with his people? Oh my gosh. So I think that's incredible, and just I'm also wondering how you got so many subscribers. Like, I have so many questions. Gosh. So
the subscribers is also shocking to me, but it's just making stuff, and just the more stuff you put out there, it finds its people, it finds its fans.
So you didn't do any marketing or like algorithm
besides my own Twitter? No,
just your own Twitter.
Yeah. Besides my own Twitter, and then also I feel that having prolific people,
right,
crew and voices in the show. So like, if Mara Wilson's going to be in an episode, she'll promote it, and then all the Mara Wilson fans will watch Ollie Scoops. And then, same thing with all the other voice actors.
100%. So sorry, getting back to the finances question, how much?
Sure.
So we established there's 20 to 30 people working on one episode over a couple of months. How much does that actually cost to produce? And obviously
usually I'm going to say 10 to 15,000 an episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's around what I was thinking. So like, I guess, no, obviously you have, connections, you have experience. So like the average person who has 10K saved in the bank is going to have to do a lot of pickup to still find people to work with and create a story and stuff. But that doesn't actually sound too bad to produce, I guess. Like it's not wild. The numbers aren't wild, I guess. So if you wanted to do like a Kickstarter or GoFundMe or Patreon or whatever, do you think you could self-sustain this eventually?
I have a what is it called? Oh, a GoFundMe, but it's not like if we don't make the goal, we're done for. It's nothing like that. The GoFundMe is more of like a tip jar. Like, right, hey, if you like Ollie Scoops, throw us $5 or whatever. But it's, the show is still going to go on whether or not the GoFundMe makes money or anything.
Totally. I totally, I weigh that in my head sometimes, because there's like things that I'm going to do regardless. And I'm like, I'm going to do it regardless. Why are people going to pay me to do it?
The only Kickstarter or anything like that I was thinking of is if we decide to produce something big. Like I was thinking down the line, publishing an Ollie Scoops book, an illustrated book, and like Kickstarter would be perfect for an Ollie Scoops book, which I think could happen in the next year or so.
That makes a lot of sense. With Ollie Scoops, is there anything in the storytelling that you are doing that you couldn't do in your day job at like Netflix or whatnot that you are taking the liberty of because you have creative control over it?
Oh, well, this also answers another question, which you said, who is it for?
Yeah.
The Ollie Scoops is for everyone. I make it kid friendly, but it's really just meant to be. You can be any age and watch this and appreciate it. I think the reason for that is when I came up with the pitch, it was for Nickelodeon, so it was designed to be a kid show. And then when I decided to do it on my own, people were like, "Well, why don't you make it adult, or why don't you make it, why constrain yourself into that kid show mentality?" And I kind of just felt like, some ideas are screaming to be adult, some ideas aren't, and Ollie and Scoops just seemed to me like it could be for everyone and not, not for just adults or whatever. Obviously, there's like Vivian's Has Been Hotel, which is like, that totally needs to be rated R.
But like every 10-year-old I've talked to has seen it.
Yeah, just by nature, that needs to be rated R. But Ollie and Scoops is like, nah, it can be for everyone. It's fine.
You know what? I like that because it's like a studio would never do something that's for everyone. They have like a very specific audience
Sure.
they're trying to capture, right?
Cartoon Network is very much like boys 8 to 12. Like, that's great for them, but I kind of want to tell stories, stories to more people than boys 8 to 12.
Cool.
And
do you have any other thoughts that you wanted to share on Ollie and Scoops?
I remember you asked a couple last things that were like, I'm trying to remember now, because I wanted to answer them.
One of them was like, well, I feel like you kind of answered it. One was, what is your dream for Ollie and Scoops, or just your career in general?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think keep doing Ollie and Scoops, but every year I wanted to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Until hopefully we have studio funding and we're making it in a studio. That would be awesome. Until then, I'm totally happy making it with my little crew, making it on our own. And I know it's just going to get bigger because, that's how YouTube works, is that your fans, your subscribers just, they grow. And the more prolific voice actors and stuff I have, we'll get their fans watching too. And I'm again really happy to be working with the people I work with at Netflix and working on other people's dreams and visions. That's still something that I think is important to have in my life. Maybe by the time Ollie and Scoops is ready to be showrun by me in a big studio, then I can stop working on obviously then I'll stop working on other people's stuff and I'll focus on my show. But yeah.
So, okay, maybe this is one of the other questions you were thinking of, but it was something along the lines of, most, including myself, most people want to have their own show made. I feel like you just kind of gave a tiny crash course in how to do that. But I guess what does it take from a mentality standpoint to be like sitting on your couch watching TV shows and animation shows and go like, I would love to do that, to actually build up the confidence and say like, this is what I'm going to do? And then what is step one?
So if I were to pretend like Ollie and Scoops isn't a thing. Yeah. And if I was sitting on the couch right now watching TV, watching cartoons, and I was like, I want to make that right now. It does take time and money. I'm not going to lie. It was years of working at Tit Mouse and Nickelodeon and Disney TVA, and just saving up that helped me have the funds to do Ollie and Scoops. I see a lot of people online saying like, where does that money come from? Like, how does he get the money to do this? And it's just years of just saving up. That's what it is, really.
It's not a Tommy Wiseau leather jacket.
Yeah. No, yeah, I actually have a denim jean factory in San Francisco, and I get like $10 million a year from that. It's pretty great.
I honestly
But
feel like if you came across $10 million and tried to make a show, it would probably not work out very well if you're starting from scratch. Like
sure,
like
yeah,
just what you're telling me is like it's an evolution over years.
yes, exactly. It's definitely an evolution. I think that having Too Loud first, and making that cartoon just taught me so much about show running and running your own crew and being the captain of the ship. If I feel like if Too Loud didn't happen and Ollie and Scoops was my first cartoon, it would not be as good
Yeah.
because I wouldn't have the show running experience that I learned so much about in by having Too Loud and the DreamWorks project there.
So maybe step one is to just create something and then move on to the next thing and then move on to the next
Step
thing.
one is just to think of an idea. Think of before, actually, even more important than the story, just think of the characters first.
Yeah.
Ollie and Scoops just came from two characters. I was like a cute little girl and her pet cat, and they can talk to each other, and that's it. That, I mean, and just make it grow from there. From there, all the side characters come, the supporting cast, other cats, the cat world, and then this show, there's dual worlds. There's not just Ollie's school and a school in the human world. There's also the cat world. So they can go back and forth, and that just doubles the chances for fun stories.
Nice. Yeah, and you're not limited by starting with just the characters. You're not limited by them if you started with the world instead, I guess.
Yeah. So just time and saving up is obviously going to be your plan for your budget. And then I'm not going to say, make a show before your show, but having Too Loud first helped me with get my crew and get the people that I work with now.
Totally.
Initially, when DreamWorks TV bought Too Loud, they said, now do you need a crew or do you need us to hook you up with anybody? And I was like, nope, I'm good. I know the people I want to work with. And they said, great. And so it was just me reaching out to a bunch of my friends. And if I didn't know someone who, if I didn't know someone who could fill in a role, usually my friends would recommend their friends. Or if we really don't know anybody, and I still do this to this day, if I need like a revisionist and everyone I know is busy, I'll just go on Twitter and I just put out a cold call, and I'm just like, hey, I need a storyboard revisionist. Please comment here with your your reel or your portfolio. And then it's going through 150 portfolios, and unfortunately only having to pick one person, which is really hard because they have to break 149 people's hearts. But that's just part of the game, I guess. So yeah,
no, totally. Yeah.
There's
Having
a few,
your own crew is so valuable, like that you could say, I already know who I want to work with, because you already know it's going to go well because you know all these people.
Yeah, I think those are a few tips into starting off. I don't know, just I'm a big proponent of working with your friends. Just reach out to your friends and be like, hey, you want to make something cool? And if they're your friends, obviously you pay them, but and at the same time, everyone who works on Ollie and Scoops knows that, look, we're a low budget indie thing. The pay isn't going to be phenomenal, but we're all working on making something really cool that's going to make a difference in people's lives. And that's why they agreed to do it for, not tremendous pay, but
right.
It's something.
Totally. Is there anything else about Ollie or your career that you wanted to share? I also wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about CTN's Cartoon Crash Course if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we can get into that. Yes, in addition to my day job and making Ollie and Scoops, I also do, well, this came out of nowhere. So CTN, Creative Talent Network, they're they're like Comic-Con, but in Burbank. They're like a Burbank Comic-Con. And it's sort of like a job fair. It's run by Tina Price, and it's a big animation who's who, and it's a great place to go. And especially if you're an art student or any student at all, you go and you can get your portfolio looked at. You can have one-on-ones with studio execs, people who work in the business. You can have a chance to pitch your ideas. And then there's a whole bunch of booths and artists and stuff who have their own their own booths and stuff for sale, art books, artwork, posters, stuff like that. It's like a giant artist alley from Comic-Con, but in Burbank. So CTN has a gallery space, and I am an art gallery curator on top of all this other stuff I do. In Los Angeles, when Meltdown Comics was around, I had art shows at Meltdown Comics since 2013, and I've had 10 art shows over the last 7 years. And they were starting to get really big, and people would show up all the time. Like, I mean, people who worked on whatever the theme was. Like one theme in 2015, I did a Back to the Future art show, and Bob Gale, the screenwriter of the movies, showed up.
What?
And then another show was The Simpsons, and Matt Groening showed up, and it was really great doing shows and having people having to do with that theme would arrive. But sadly, Meltdown Comics closed, so I've not had a venue for a couple of years. And then suddenly, a year and a half ago, Tina Price from CTN approached me, and she said, "I loved your art shows, not only because they were fun, but like they just brought a sense of community to like the art community in Los Angeles. It was a great place for artists and people to get together for an evening and find out a whole bunch of cool artists, and everybody connect and network, and it's really fun. So can you do those? Can you bring those back, and can you have them at the CTN gallery?" And I was like, "Yay! I finally have a venue. Great." So a year ago, I did my first art show at CTN Gallery. It was themed around Hilda, because I was working at Netflix, and I'm like, oh, let's think of like Netflix ideas, maybe Netflix themed stuff. So I did the Hilda show a year ago, and then pandemic happened, and so all the art shows were on hold. And so then last spring, Tina was like, well, sadly the art shows are on hold, but how about we can still do stuff. We have a channel, a CTN channel, and we have like a Zoom classes and seminars and stuff like that. Would you want to host one of these streaming shows, or make up your own rather? And that's where Cartoon Crash Course was born. And that's basically every other Wednesday. It's me and a couple of guests, prolific people in the animation industry, a lot like what you do here with your podcast. And it's just me talking cartoons with them. And, I'll have like a couple friends of mine who are storyboard artists, and the theme of the show is storyboarding, and then designers, and I'll have like Rob Renzetti and Craig McCracken and showrunners of their own shows come on. I had Jorge Gutierrez, and it's really great. And it costs $5, but that's so you can be there for the live stream, and we do a Q&A, and most of the entire show is a Q&A from the chat. So you can be a part of the chat and ask, these people whatever questions you want. So that's been going on since May of 2020, and we're still doing it right now. We have episodes going on until at least March.
Oh wow!
Let's see beyond then, but yeah, that's Cartoon Crash Course anyway.
No, that's amazing, and
That's just for fun.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
You need to. Do you have any spare time? That's the real question.
Yeah, I do. I make sure to have spare time, otherwise I go nuts. But I again, I just always found myself that I'll go crazy if I'm not like, I'm just perpetually busy, because that's just the way I like it. I just like being busy, and I like working on things.
I am very much the same.
Yeah. If I have too much free time, I just sit around and I mope,
Yep. Don't know what to do.
I make sure I have enough busy time.
Well, I'm glad that you're using that time to create amazing resources for other people in the industry, and to do some really fun stuff with Ollie Scoops. That's really cool.
Thank you. It really feels good when because a lot of the audience for the CTN streams are students or young people who want to get into animation. And it feels great when I'll get an email from someone who's like, hey, I've been watching your streams and they're just like the most inspirational thing ever. And they really kind of kicked it was the kick in the butt I needed to, pursue my dreams or like work on this
Wow.
thing I've been wanting to work on. So thank you for them. And it's really nice when I get messages like that.
Yeah, that is amazing. Do you have any final inspirational advice on that note?
General advice, I would say, this is still the best advice I've ever heard, but it's just make stuff. Just get out there and make stuff. Make cartoons, make films, make video, make paintings, music, or whatever your artistic choice is. It doesn't matter if you have $5 or $5,000, just make stuff, because the more stuff you make, the better you'll get. And you're going to make 100 crappy drawings before you make one good drawing. I made so many lousy short films during our
Your
the
public
public
broadcast
access
days.
show. I made so many lousy videos during our public access show days.
Yeah.
But I made hundreds of them, and a couple are okay. And that's what matters in just giving yourself the experience to make things. So
Totally.
keep that experience going, and you'll make more and more great things.
Well, I love that advice. And if somebody's listening and they are on the edge of making something, maybe they can go right after this and just make something.
Sure.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you wanted to share, or any final thoughts?
I should maybe you can put this in earlier when I was talking about like what inspired me or what made me get going, or it can stay here at the end, I don't know. But I also want to give a big shout out to Channel 101. That was created by Dan Harmon and Rob Schraub originally, but still going. It predates YouTube, but that was another big thing here in LA that the whole reasoning behind it is the advice that I gave, which was just to get out there, get together with people, and just make stuff. I'm not sure if you know what Channel 101 is.
I just Googled it, and it's a nonprofit monthly short film festival in LA.
Yeah. Sadly, it hasn't been live in a year because of the pandemic, but its original intentions still ring true, is that it doesn't have to cost anything. If we're all here in LA or around the world and we all want to make stuff, what's stopping us from getting together and just making cool stuff?
Yeah.
Channel 101, Channel 101 is it's a monthly screening of mini TV shows, and they play 10 pilots, and the only rule is that they can't exceed 5 minutes. And then the audience votes for which 5 of the 10 shows is going to come back next month for episode 2.
Oh, wow.
So it's sort of like YouTube before YouTube. And the show can keep going as long as the audience votes for it every month.
Oh man, are there any shows that have been around for years because of that?
I think the longest running show is called Car Jumper, and it's about like a MacGyver type guy who solves every problem in every episode by jumping from one moving car to another moving car. And I think that one went on for like 30 something episodes, which meant 30 months, 30 something.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, so like a year and a half was the longest running show, I think. No, 2.5 years.
Wow, that's incredible.
Like
I did something similar in Kitchener when I still lived there, and they did a film. I don't remember what it's called, but it was the exact same concept where the audience votes on what gets a second episode next month.
Yeah.
My short film that I made with my friends, live action, got voted to be next month, but I was literally moving to Toronto that day, so it never happened.
Wow. Well, yeah, 101 is for years it's been a great place to network and meet other artists just like you, and the whole nature of Channel 101 is to get together with people that you meet and make the next show or make the next video.
Yeah, it's really
Um,
cool. I'm sure a lot of people got their start kind of there as
a
well.
ton of people got their start. I mean, in the early days of 101, it's like The Lonely Island got their start there. Tim and Eric, like Jack Black was in a bunch of their early stuff. Um, like Yacht Rock, like Rick and Morty, Justin
Yeah.
Roiland started at Channel 101. Like the prototype of Rick and Morty was a Channel 101 video. So, but yeah, I just always loved that idea and the mentality behind 101 was just to get together and make stuff with your friends. So that was a major reason I moved to LA too, because I wanted to be a part of that community.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I started going to the screenings as soon as I moved here in 2008. And it was really great. I met a lot of great people and people I'm still friends with today. So that was another major thing that made me kick my butt into making more stuff.
Yeah, just get involved in a community that's already making stuff, and
Exactly.
you just have to by default.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Yeah. Is there anything final that you wanted to share now?
Thank you so much for supporting Ollie and Scoops. Anyone watching.
Amazing.
I just saw a fan last night do like a fan art dump. They posted like 6 pieces of fan art.
Oh my gosh, isn't that the really best when somebody makes fan art of your work?
Yeah, it's really cool. I have a folder every time I see a piece of fan art, I save it to a folder.
That's hilarious. You should like print them all out and make a collage on your wall of it.
That'd awesome. In my Disney office, I made a collage. I made a Too Loud fan art collage.
When Disney buys Ollie and Scoops and creates a separate building just for Ollie and Scoops production, that's when. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I have to thank you for just spewing out all the information about editing and Ollie and Scoops. It's been really insightful for me to hear. Like, as a budding creator myself, this is just I'm just eating up everything you said. So thank you so much for coming on the chat.
Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you want to follow Nico's work or Ollie and Scoops, obviously, I've included links to do so in the description. And, if you're looking to become a showrunner yourself, you can check out his Cartoon Crash course, which I'll include as well. He said, they focus on everything from storyboarding to voice acting. All these links are in the description, so please check those out. And that's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye.